All right. So this is Dan Berte with Bitdefender, and this is my AMA. Let's dive right into it. So thank you so much, all of you, for all the really good questions. I'm going to try to answer them as best as I can and keep them coming, either to my email or to the community, and I'll answer those as well in the future. So let's get started. First question from one of you guys is what could cause the warning that you are not connected to the Bitdefender box and can change the settings? Well, it sounds to me like you might be on a different Wi Fi network. So, in order to be able to configure the box, you have to be on that Wi Fi network. So, make sure you're on it, not on a secondary Wi Fi you may have at home. Okay. All right. Now, let's get to the second question. I have a web infrastructure with dedicated server based on cPanel. The goal would be that Bitdefender defends and protects a cPanel server against any threat. Is that possible in the future? Now, that's a great question. I'm sure you're familiar with the now end of life Bitdefender antivirus scanner for Unisys. Some of that functionality is now available in Bitdefender Gravity Zone for Enterprise. So please look into that for more details. Thanks for the great question. All right, next one is what exactly does Box secure? And I'm still wondering how a connected radio that only plays music is vulnerable. Well, first off, nobody said the radio is vulnerable, but it's best to assume that any device is potentially vulnerable and to make sure that that is taken care of and secured in some shape or form. Now, to the question of what exactly Box secures, well, try to think of your network like a sandwich of technologies. Box in itself is like a sandwich of technologies uh, as well. What that means is a multi layer technology that does anything from blocking malicious links on a device. All the way to maybe preventing malware and botnets, stopping denial of service attacks, and more. So it doesn't matter which device you're using, there's something that Box does for each and one of them. Your connected radio is just another computer on that network that one has your Wi-Fi information. So keep that in mind. Second is possibly your account information or your account credentials. And thirdly, it may be attacked and used against your network or other network devices from other people's homes, part of a botnet. So keep that in mind. Awesome question. Thank you. All right. What are the most vulnerable devices and why? Somebody asks. Well, our data shows that network attached storage devices are the top offenders. It's a problem because you hold your most dear things on them, right? It's where you hold your photos, maybe your company data, your taxes, so on and so forth. Second on the list is IP/smart cameras, then TVs and routers. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people don't think about their routers as being IoT devices as well, right? So kind of frame it that way, and you understand how the potential of the attack that might happen on your network. Now, the grand idea here is that there's a mix of how popular these devices are, the kind of sensitive data they can access or hold, and in most cases, it really depends on the manufacturer and the model and how poorly they're secured. So there you have it. All right. Next question says, I recently had to create a mesh network in my home to get better coverage for both upstairs and downstairs using an Asus router as a mesh router and another Asus device as a mesh node. I got really great coverage, but I couldn't figure out how to integrate Bitdefender Box 2 into the mesh network to provide firewall protection. Do you have any information that could help me? So for this is a really good question, and I would defer you to my support colleagues because there may be something that they would be able to do in order to help you have that setup working. Now, the gist here is that sometimes Box doesn't play well with mesh networks. To put it in simple terms, they break continuity of the network. That's Box being unable to see beyond certain nodes and protect the devices that are connected there. And it's kind of a limitation of the network, unfortunately. But um, one might thing that I might have to add here is I don't know how invested you are in the ASUS setup, but if you could consider replacing the setup with the Netgear Orbi mesh setup with Netgear Armor, which is Bitdefender box enabled, that's an all-in-one package, and you have to think about anything. So that'd be a great alternative solution. All right. Thanks for the question. Now, next question says, why did you ditch Box and will you ever produce such a device again? All right. So sunsetting Box was a really tough decision for my team, especially since we learned so much building two generations of it. So as we move forward, we decided to make Box a more democratic and accessible technology for all of you. And basically, we were going to make it available to ISPs to put in their gateways, or to popular router manufacturers like Netgear to put in their product lines. And it's really the best of both worlds. So if we will ever build another box into in the future, I don't know, but I hope to surprise you at some point. It's a great question. All right, the next question says, is Netgear really as good as Box? And like I said earlier, it's possibly even better, just because some of our customers, maybe yourself, wanted more networking features specific to dedicated routers, and Netgear excel at that. They're one of the best, some of the best routers in the world. And when you couple that with the Bitdefender box technology, you get a great package. All right. So thanks for that question. A really good one. Um, the next question says, how did you come up with the idea to create the box? Well, plain and simple, we looked at our homes and we saw all these new devices that we know familiarly call IoTs, that didn't really have any form of protection. And we said, that's unacceptable. Let's build something that's going to take care of that. So that's how Box was born, something that was going to sit on the network and protect those devices that we can really install a typical solution on, right? That's a great question. So thank you for that. Next question says, what are the most popular IoT devices? And some IoT devices are very surprising. So, one of them is the your phone, right? And then your router. So is the printer. So by that, phones come in at about 35% of the more popular devices, like a total. 35% of them are phones. 10%, about 10% are tablets. Smartwatches come in at about 5%. TVs, instrument devices at about equal 5%. And printers, surprisingly, at 2%. So there you have it, the most popular IoT devices. All right. A last question in this AMA is, what are your recommendations for the consumers? How can we stay safe? And what are the best practices to secure the network? All right. There is no law that defines how we can stay safe, but kind of to get the gist of it, I'm going to try to explain what happens and why we get attacked. So, in short, hackers are willing, they're in it for the money, and they want to do it quickly, they want to do it easy, and they want to distribute in thousands and thousands and thousands of connected devices that are not protected. So for them, that's what makes sense. Now, with that in mind, if you can make it harder for them in any possible way, so then when they try to attack a device on your network or your home or your router, it's just harder for them to do so. They might just look elsewhere and be like, all right, we don't want to spend time on this. So that's what we call in the industry increasing the cost of attack. So making it harder. In increasing the cost means increasing either the cost itself, like money. How much money do you need to put in? Like, is there something physical, actual money that you put in to attack these devices, or time? Right. So if either of these are not there, then they might look elsewhere. So, but then there's still things we can do. So, what exactly do I mean by this? First and foremost, try to keep all your devices and their applications up to date. There's new firmwares, new updates for applications all the time. Keep them going. Keep them live. Have the latest version. That's the best surefire way to make sure that you're fine. Use a strong Wi-Fi password. You wouldn't believe how many times I've seen really poor passwords because people are comfortable, lazy sometimes even, and they don't think about it much. But that's very important. Use a box solution or Netgear that has a Netgear Armor with Bitdefender box on, if you can. And also, don't discount this. Read specialty security blogs to discover if some of the products that you own or you plan to purchase have been known to have vulnerabilities in the past, and how do they mitigate that. So that's one way to go it. Yeah, definitely come to the forums and to the community, ask questions, try to stay informed. And while like I said, total security is hard to achieve, if not impossible, try to increase the cost of attack, and then you should be in a better place. All right, that's been my AMA for today. Thank you all so much for the questions. They were great, and keep them coming, and I'll make sure to get back to you and answer them as quickly as I can. So this has been Dan with Bitdefender. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.